Hi guys, it's Anastasia, Art Marketing Muse, and I want to talk to you about something that may make you really uncomfortable. I'm going to warn you right now, okay? And I'm talking to the artist that wants to make money from their work, okay? Who wants to make a living from their work. I am not talking to the artist who doesn't care about making money from their work. You're still an artist. Awesome, good for you. Keep going. You don't need to watch this video. If you want to make money from your work, we need to have some real talk here, okay? And that is about changing your mindset. So, first off, if you're selling artwork, you have a business. If you don't believe me, ask the IRS, okay? So you have an art business. Start thinking of it like a business. And you go, oh, it feels gross. I don't want to talk about sales. I don't want to talk about marketing, investing, and all this stuff. But that's okay. Figure out where those feelings are coming from. When I started out as an artist, I gave a lot of work away. I sold it way too cheap. And I wanted to make affordable artwork, and I still do. However, I have some different levels. But I wanted to create art that I could afford. But the problem was I was making so little money when I started out because I was supporting my son as a single mother. He was a baby, and I'm trying to make a living as an artist. And I was doing it. I was paying my bills, but I had so little left. And I wasn't budgeting. I wasn't investing back in. I was just scraping by. So I wanted to talk about a little bit where my mind frame was with that. So whenever people say, oh, you need to get in front of people with money, or you need to try to make more money so you can budget, and I instantly was resistant to it. And I was like, oh, it doesn't feel good. I'm an artist. I don't want to sell out. I don't want to be ruin my integrity. Here's the thing. Selling out is going against your values. Selling out is not paying your bills, okay? So being able to pay your bills is not selling out. So, on that note, I remember the moment it clicked for me. My mom, I was on the phone with my mom. I was in my art studio I was creating, and my mom called, and she said that she had bought me something that wasn't super cheap, not super expensive, but it wasn't super cheap. I think it was some clothing or something. And I remember when she said that, I got this knot in my stomach, and I got tears in my eyes, and I immediately caught it, and I went, whoa, what was that? And I hung up, and I sat with those feelings, and I was really trying to figure out why her buying me something brought up all these emotions and this physical reaction. And after spending some time with it, I figured it out. So growing up, we were so poor, and I had a single mom, and there were times that she didn't eat so that her kids could. To me, growing up, money was sacrifice. I remember sitting at Christmases and not getting anything, and my mom crying. Like, that's what I grew up with. And so the ideas in my head were that money was evil. Money meant sacrifice, it meant pain. And then there were people who had money who weren't very nice to us because we didn't have money. And so I sort of associated money with bad, with evil, with a-holes. And I didn't want any part of it. I was like, no way, I don't want any part of it. And so I kept that obstacle. I wasn't making money because I don't like money. I didn't want to be part of it. And then I met my fiance, and he grew up very different with two parents, and whose father was a very successful businessman, and he was very smart with money, and he saved, he invested, and he taught his children. And so suddenly the people I hate is the person that I'm dating, because he understands money. He's got a comfortable relationship with money. And as he started telling me, oh, you need to budget, you need to do these things, I'm like, you don't understand. He was right. I started shifting my mindset, and I figured out that I watched him, and he's such an inspiration for me because I watched him and he used money to help others. He uses money for good. And suddenly it started to change my perspective. And I was like, oh, wait, money doesn't always have to be sacrificed. Money doesn't always have to be evil. And I remember when a family member was in really dire straits, and it was a really, really bad situation. And I had the extra money to help. And it made me feel so good inside. And I thought, I always want to be in this position. I don't want to be back in that position where it's feast or famine, which is where a lot of us spend our time. So I had to get right in my head about money. And once I got there, I started valuing my time. I started valuing my money. I started valuing my business and my art business. And I started looking at it as a business. So the first thing I did was I said, okay, my art has to pay for itself. And I had to change the way I looked at it because I had been supporting me and my son just on my art for several years. But I didn't have enough left over for things like emergencies or flat tires or whatever the case may be. And I said, I don't want to live in that place anymore. I want to make more money. I want to be able to pay for things that I need. So I started investing. I got a part-time job, and I started using that money to pay my bills. And I started using the money I made from my art to invest back into my art business. So buying a website, a domain, and building a website, buying software I needed like Photoshop, paying for entry fees, and paying shipping costs and things like that. Things that I needed to be able to do for my art career. Because it is a business. So you can't really stand behind and say, oh, I can't afford this and I can't afford that, and the world's against artists. The world's not against artists. It's just not going to hand you anything. Just like any other business, they have to invest. They have to pay for websites. They have to pay for software. They have to pay for help. That's a business. That's how it works. And once you change your mindset and start thinking of your work like a business, you can start budgeting for that. In the beginning, I actually took 50% of my profits and I put it back into my website. Or into my business, sorry. So I could build my website. I could buy the software I needed. I could do the things that I needed to do. I took some classes, and I networked, and I did a lot of those things that cost money. I entered into art shows or art residencies and things like that. And that helped grow my art business. If you are making money but you're not putting back in, it's never going to grow. And that's true with any business that you have, okay? Not just your art. So you have to kind of decide where you want to go from here. Do you want to grow, or do you want to stay the same and barely make it? Sometimes that means getting what's called a bridge job. So you make enough money to pay your bills and then grow your art from there. That's how a lot of people do it. Maybe it's raising your prices. Maybe it's branching out and finding several streams of income. For example, I was selling my paintings, but I also started teaching art classes. And that extra income helped with some of those other expenses. And those are things that I could invest back into my business. So until I got to a point where my artwork paid for my lifestyle. And then you can let go of those other things. But if you're making $3,000 a year, probably not practical. And then, yeah, things like software and things like entry fees and, it sounds awful, it's not for me. Get a bridge job. Get something that helps out with those financial things while you're growing your business, and let your art business pay for itself. And then eventually budget, figure out how much you need to make a living from your artwork. I'm going to leave you with that. That's pretty heavy. That's a lot of information. I want you to just kind of figure out your mindset. Figure out where you are. Do you want to make money from your work? What does money mean to you? Do you want an art business? Do you want to grow? What does that mean? What kind of feelings does it bring up? Really sit with those feelings and figure out where you're at. Money doesn't have to be evil. Money doesn't have to be bad. Money can help grow businesses. Money can save people's lives. Money, I travel all over every year, and that's because I make money. I work my ass off for it, and I make money. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm able to donate to organizations I care about. I'm able to help people when they need it. It doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be icky, but figure out how you feel about it. Figure out your mindset and figure out where you want to go. Do you want to grow? Then treat it like an art business. I'll probably talk more on this later, but I'm going to leave you with that, leave you with those thoughts. Spend some time thinking about that. Write it out, sit with it, whatever you need to do, reflect on it, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.